Today I'm going to show you how I made this matching 7-piece serving tray set, but first, enjoy the intro. Hi, I'm Deidre Williams, owner of the DMW Collection, where we talk all things resin art and candle making. First, I'm going to show you guys the materials I use. It's going to be a combination of different mica powders, alcohol inks, and acrylic white paint. I will go ahead and link in the description below where I got all of these fancy tools from, and I also used some silver leaf for this project. So, the resin that I'm using is Be Resin. It is a 1-to-1 ratio. That just means you use equal parts of part A and part B. This one you mix for about 3 to 5 minutes and then you are good to go. Off camera here, I am just mixing up all of my colors. I'm really just going to mix one color of white, use all of those. I'll leave some clear and then the silver leaf and the teal. So the first thing I'm gonna do is lay my silver leaf down. I just put some clear resin in the cup and I put the silver leaf in the cup and mix that up. And now I'm just gonna lay that on the border of the serving tray set. So I get those cups from like my local dollar supply store. I am going to try to link as much as possible via Amazon because I know that's easiest for most people. So I'll do that in the description below. The next thing I did is lay down my combo white. So that's going to be the white mica powder that I showed you, the pearl alcohol ink, as well as a little bit of that white acrylic paint. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to lay this piece. So you'll see a lot of editing as we go. So I'm using my popsicle stick now to push the white back a little bit. And that's because I realized I wanted the piece to be a little bit more transparent. So I went ahead and laid down some clear resin where I wanted the clear resin to be, like the transparency in the piece to be. And I'm gonna start filling out the mold now. So I'm using as much white now as possible to fill out the edges, because you want to remember that this is a matching set, so you want everything to look pretty cohesive. So you'll see throughout the piece I'm going to be laying the same colors alongside of each little mold. Now I'm going in with my teal. Originally I wanted the white to be on the outside and then the teal to be on the inside, but what I didn't know is that when you lay a color on top of white, it kind of pulls it in. So you'll see that, and that's kind of how it created that reaction in the end. It's not something that I intentionally tried to do. It was a byproduct of me not knowing. So I am still just laying my teal here, just trying to make sure that I give each coaster the same amount of resin and that it looks cohesive. The next thing I'm doing is I'm just pouring clear resin to fill out my mold, because now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I think I really like the way this is looking. So I just wanted to fill out my mold to really solidify the wherever the colors, pigments, and things, I wanted to solidify the areas in which those colors were. So now I am trying to debate if I am going to put this gold leaf in the center, and I do. So I put the gold leaf in the center, and after I put it in the center, I was like, you know what? This teal is starting to get swept up by that white, and I don't really like it. So that's why I kept trying to put more teal. And then I also realized that my centerpiece that I wanted to be transparent is also being swept up by the colors. So I use more clear resin around the center to help spread that out. And now I'm making my white whiter. So I am putting more white along the borders, because that pickle green is the name of it. It's doing its own thing. So and now I am a fan of using all of your resin. So I'm just using all the resin I have poured in my cups to kind of fill out my molds. So going back and forth between the white and the pickle green, the white and the pickle green, trying to make sure that my colors stay in the same place that I had them, because at the time I loved how it looked. as far as the coaster part, the serving tray, still didn't know, trying to figure it out. So I said, I'll just work on the coasters for now. So I am adding as much as I can, because keep in mind, these molds aren't very deep. So I was making sure that I didn't overfill the molds, and clearly I did. So I'm just using my handy dandy popsicle stick to move that resin around. So that one mold had way too much resin, and you don't want to put too much resin, otherwise you'll have a lip, and then that's way too much cleanup. So I just moved it over to the other coaster, and all was well. Now I am seeing how much resin and supplies I have left and what I want to do with it. And I am mixing up the rest of my colors, and I'm looking at the project too to see, like, all right, what else do I want to add to this? It looks okay, but I'm not in love. So here I am filling out the mold with the rest of the colorants I had, and just trying to make something out of whatever this was supposed to be. And it's around this time that I realized that, you know what, the silver leaf is not as present as I wanted it to be. So you'll see me put in as much clear resin around that silver leaf, because the color started to pull into the middle, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to, like I said, to be transparent. So I'm pointing out to say that I think that I put too much, like I didn't put enough color, like I wanted the colors to be closed off. So that's why I went ahead, and you guys are seeing this in real time, my thought process. So I went ahead with the white color, and I closed off the circle. Mind you, there's a ton of clear resin underneath already. And so I closed off the circle, I put some more white, I put some more pickle green, and I'm just using the rest of it because I didn't have much. At this point, I don't have a lot of resin left over for this project. So I'm using everything that I have to create this new look that I decided I wanted to do the very last minute. And so this is what it's coming to. And now I'm deciding that I want to pull out the silver leaf, because it has pushed against the mold, and it's pushed against the edges. So I just wanted that to be a little bit more prevalent. So I have a little bit more of the pickle green, so I'm just using that in the project so that you can see it. I don't know if you can tell from the clip, but the pickle green is pushing in the middle a lot. So I'm just using that clear resin to fix that problem. One tip I have for you guys, if you want to move resin around, use your popsicle stick. Don't use a toothpick. It will leave little holes in the mold. And the next thing I'm doing right now, because I have a pretty solid layer, is I'm using my heat gun to pop bubbles and make a little bit of movement in my resin. So at this time for the silicone mold, you want to do low heat. That's why you see me moving the heat gun really, really fast, because you don't want to damage your mold by putting too much heat on it, which has happened to me more times than I can count. So now that I have pretty much laid the piece out how I wanted it to be, I'm just utilizing all my resin to make the colors pop a little bit more. You can tell that the white in the serving tray part is really eating up that teal. The pickle green, I don't know why I keep calling it teal, but this pickle green color is really being taken over by this white. But this color is so beautiful that I wanted it to be like the star of the show. So that's why I kept making more, pouring more. You're starting to see now that the colors are starting to form, like they're starting to mesh together. They're starting to create the beautiful wave that the piece turned out to be by no fault of my own. I did not know it was gonna do that, but I'm very happy that it did. So I am using my popsicle stick to move the colors out of the clear resin. Keep in mind that resin is pretty loose for a while, and it moves a lot during this stage. And so I just wanted to keep moving any colors that got in the middle, the clear part, out. And then it will, when you move the resin with the popsicle stick, it just creates bubbles in the project. So going in with my heat gun again to pop any bubbles that may have a resin now. And then I think she's looking pretty. So we're just, this is set, this piece has set for, I would say 10 or so minutes. And I am going in with the popsicle stick to make my little design, my little waves. Because the resin is so fluid, if you want this kind of design in your piece, you will have to keep coming back to do it. Otherwise, it will not stay. It will just level out and look like nothing. So I did come back and do these swirls probably, I would say like in the beginning, I would probably say like every 20 to 30 minutes, I will come back and use my popsicle stick to create my design. And then I didn't put the popsicle stick all the way at the bottom of the mold. I only did it at the top. And that is what we are looking like now. And I think it's so beautiful. So this is probably only like 30 minutes after I have poured everything. As you can tell, I'm struggling. So I didn't realize that it wasn't ready to be, like the handle shouldn't be in just yet. But keep that in mind too, that I would put the handles in earlier, honestly. I would put the handles in when it's super fluid, when the resin is super fluid, and then you won't have the problem because since the resin had already cured a bit, it was making the handles fall off. But here's a finished piece. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will link everything in the description below. And until next time, happy creating.